The Quran doesn't lay down any punishment for apostasy or for blasphemy. Medieval Islamic thinkers assumed that apostasy was roughly the equivalent of what we would today refer to as treason, and it carried the death penalty. In most medieval Muslim thought that's the case. There are some exceptions. For instance, somebody called al-Baji in medieval Spain said, no, apostasy isn't an offence punishable by law, it's something that's left to God and will be dealt with by a higher court when the culprit dies. So as usual, there is a diversity of voices. The anger of the Muslim response reflected largely insecurities about the integrity of the community and the fact that somebody from the community was now insulting it, adding his voice to the chorus of denunciations that were already being poured on Muslim values and the Muslim life from outside the faith. Made people very insecure and worried, and that, I think, accounts for the nature of the vehemence. But a lot of Muslim authorities never accepted, say, Khomeini's death penalty. I remember when, at the height of the affair, and in England it was a lot sharper and more worrying than I'm sure it was in the States. I actually telephoned the highest Sunni legal authority, which is the Al-Azhar University in Cairo, where I have contacts. I spoke to the deputy head and said, what's the Azhar's position? And they said, oh, weeks ago we issued a fatwa saying that Salman Rushdie should not be sentenced to death, and Sunni Muslims distance themselves from the fatwa and so forth. So I noted this down and contacted one of the daily newspapers in England and said, well, why don't you report the fact that most Muslim authorities, as exemplified by the Azhar, don't support this, instead of saying, according to Islamic law, ... And they thought this was a very strange story and they couldn't fit it in at all, and it was neglected. But in England at the time, we had a lot of angry sermons about Salman Rushdie, but I never heard any that upheld the Khomeini position. But to read the newspapers, you'd assume that all Muslims were determined to cut his throat. It was a very tense time. But it's an illustration of the diversity that exists, and also the fact that people can use Islamic law as a justification for their own political purposes, which is basically what Khomeini was doing. The credibility of the revolution had declined after 9 years, and in order to put himself in the center stage again, he hit on this issue.